So yes, I'm going to talk about my sustainability journey via Sumis. So first of all, I want to go to the next slide that will give you a little bit of background as to who I currently work for. So if we go to the next slide. Perfect. I work for Dow, and some of you may know Dow as Dow Chemical, and we are now known as Dow Inc., following our spin out from Dow DuPont in 2019. And I have to say I'm very privileged and very proud to work for a company that really does ingrain sustainability into everything we do. Our CEO has put forward our ambition as a company to be the most innovative, customer-centric, inclusive and sustainable science company in the world. We have net sales last year of $43 billion. We have over 36,000 employees, and we have got global reach, 109 sites across 31 countries as well. So sustainability has been a part of what we've done for a very long time. If we go to the next slide, you will see that Dow has a very strong track record in sustainability. So for nearly 30 years, Dow has created value for the environment, our customers, and Dow by setting our 10-year stretch goals. And the reason I'm highlighting this is what companies are asking for these days. And of course, Dow was very early to the game when it came to sustainability, but more and more companies, as well as regulators, governments as well, you know, the focus is on sustainability a lot more now. So we kicked off our goals in 2005, which had a focus on EH&S, which was more on the Dow footprint. So that was really focusing in on what we would term kind of waste management, water management, risk and cost savings. We actually saved $5 billion with a $1 million investment. We then launched our next set of goals in 2015, and this is what we termed our handprint. So it was around redesigning products and processes for our customers. And that is where we started hearing a lot more from customers, the need for more sustainable solutions and innovations. And then finally, in 2025, we launched what we call our blueprint of thinking. And that's really about, you know, looking at the large challenges that the planet faces, such as climate change and ocean waste as well, and about rethinking our business models and transitioning from traditional business models to sustainable business models. So as part of this, we basically did, after our separation from Dow DuPont, we defined our sustainability priorities by asking a couple of key questions in 2019. So what is the most critical sustainability needs of our industry? Which sustainability issues get to the heart of a license to operate? And which issues represent the biggest opportunities to serve our customers and society? And I think those questions can be very much applied to each of us as well as companies, and also help us to identify the areas in which we want to study. Because by defining focus areas around climate protection, circular economy, and safer materials, it really represents a real opportunity for us to make an impact in society and grow value for our business, but also for our customers as well. So in our next slide, following on from those particular focus areas, we announced our new targets. And this was really about accelerating our sustainability journey to address today's challenges. And that's why, you know, business schools like Sumis exist today, because there are these challenges out there. Products and technology are very much critical to addressing the urgent issues of climate change and plastic waste. And these long-term targets that Dow developed really do align to build upon our 2025 sustainability goals. So they don't replace our 2025 sustainability goals, but they certainly support them. And then as a result of those targets, we created particular targets around carbon reduction and eliminating plastic waste. With the launch of the new targets, we have an opportunity to drive meaningful purpose, progress, and to do so, we have to collaborate throughout the value chain with industry partners, our peers, our competitors, governments, NGOs, but also communities that we service from as well. So that's a little bit of background as to the company of Dow. From my perspective, I'm based in Ireland. I have been with Dow since January 2020 or 2012, and I've actually been in virtual office since 2016. So I know with the whole coronavirus pandemic that we're unfortunately going through, it's a huge transition for people to go from working in an office to being online. But I felt that I adapted quite well to that. You know, I've been doing it for a number of years now, and it was actually the online sustainability MBA that I did. And I think that helped me with my transition as well, to be honest. My current role in Dow is Global Sustainability Implementation Leader. So I sit within the corporate EH&S and sustainability function in Dow. And this role involves kind of 5 key areas. So external engagements. So I would represent the company at external conferences. I sit on boards as well. I work very closely with external organizations like, for example, the World Environment Center and WBCSD, the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. I also am part of several internal engagements. So these are more aligned to World Water Week, Earth Day engagements, and this is globally as well, helping to manage those. We also have a Sustainability Academy, which I oversee within the company. We have it across all of the regions at this stage now, and this is really about empowering our employees who don't necessarily have a background in sustainability to understand the business case for sustainability and to go and study, immerse themselves in sustainability and understand that actually sustainability is a part of what we do in every crevice. You know, you cannot be a business. We won't be around for another 20, 30, 40, 100 years unless we transition from our standard business model to a sustainable business model. And that's what we're doing, is we're equipping employees who do not have sustainability backgrounds with the knowledge and know-how to become sustainable ambassadors within their businesses and their functions and at their sites as well. I also support ESG initiatives, so the likes of TCFD and also EcoVadis, which is around supply chain sustainability, transparency as well, and I'm the global focal point for EcoVadis in Dow. And I also support Dow businesses and customers at an enterprise level as well. And I've also included here what I do outside of Dow, and I think this is important because sustainability is one of those topics that isn't just, you know, within a company. It's nearly like a vocation. You have a purpose. You know, I feel very purpose driven in what I do, and you know, that translates also externally as well. And you'll find this as you're working on in the area of sustainability. There are a lot of external forums out there, and it's a really good kind of industry to work in because there's this real collaborative mentality where people want to get the best practices, but they'll only get that by learning from one another and engaging with one another as well. So there are a lot of external forums that I think are really beneficial to be a part of as well in the sustainability industry. So if we go to the next slide, I'll share with you my journey. It goes back to 2007. So my background has always been in the environmental section. So I did my BA honours degree, bachelor's honours degree in geography and sociology from Queen's University in Belfast. And then I went on to do my master's in environmental engineering. So that was my studying. From that, I went into a scientific officer role within the Environment Agency in Ireland, and then also subsequently a scientific officer in aquatics as well. So this is really, these roles were very much hands-on, being out and about, working on sites, you know, doing water samples and so forth. And really at the crux of it, if you think of the 3 Ps, the people, planet and profit, really digging deep into the planet element there. I then transitioned to working for the Public Health Agency around the information officer, and this was harnessing more so my ability around research that I learned from my geography and sociology days as well. And then I moved as to a consultant at PricewaterhouseCoopers. And here my plan was to ensure that I moved into their sustainability and climate change team. And that's something, again, I want to highlight, is that sustainability is one of those areas that is so broad, you know, and there's absolutely no reason why you need to kind of pigeonhole yourself and say you want to go down a particular route. There's a lot of options out there, and I think it's really important to highlight that. And that's kind of the beauty in sustainability, is that there are so many areas that you could go into. So I ended up applying for a job in 2011. To be honest, I was not actually really looking for a job, but I seen this sustainability job come up in Dow, and I applied to it, and it was actually a supply chain sustainability job. Now, supply chain, I have no background in. I hold my hands up, no expertise in that department. Back in 2011, but I knew, about the environment. I knew about sustainability, and I knew why it was important. So I then applied and ended up working in their supply chain Centre of Excellence as a supply chain sustainability analyst. So this is very much around supporting Dow businesses and functions when it came to sustainability projects at a logistics element. So, for example, the carbon footprint of going from road to rail, very hands-on approach. What would be the cost savings, the cost to serve? How do we decrease our cost to serve? How do we decrease our carbon emissions in those logistic lanes as well? And then as part of that, that area kind of grew a lot bigger, and I became a lead supply chain sustainability analyst. There I helped develop actually our integrated supply chain sustainability strategy. So this was the first time the company ever had a dedicated sustainability strategy for supply chain. So that's where we were looking at, transport safety and transportation stewardship. We were looking at carbon footprint reduction. We were looking at sustainable packaging as well. We were also looking at end-to-end transparency. And then that's where it started to move into the area of ESG, because we were seeing customers asking us questions about, filling out these questionnaires from platforms and transitioning more, nearly a paradigm shift from EH&S as we knew it to ESG. And that's something that we've seen happen over the space of around 12 months, where a lot more customers were moving beyond their kind of standard ISO certification type questions to asking about human rights, labour practices, ethics, sustainable procurement, really interesting areas that were not areas that you traditionally would have thought of fall under sustainability, but quickly became core to having a license to operate when it came to sustainability as well. And then that's when I moved into the senior supply chain sustainability analyst role. And it was during this time I actually applied to SUMAS. And the reason I applied to SUMAS in particular, I'll cover in a couple of slides, the next slide, but to focus on here, you'll see here I started in 2016. It was April 2016, and then I graduated in December 2017. So I did the condensed 18 months online MBA. And you'll see here I also changed roles in that time from integrated supply chain to the corporate EH&S and sustainability function. And what you'll find, if we just go back a slide, is in that time frame, I find it very interesting that a lot more customers were asking us these sort of questions, and subsequently a lot of our business leaders were asking these questions. And that's when I identified my own knowledge gap. I could talk about sustainability, and articulate that very well. I know the business value of sustainability, but I didn't have the business acumen to the extent where I could articulate that appropriately to the business leaders within Dow to get them on board. So I felt, okay, I need to go and educate myself on the business side of things, not moving away from sustainability, but being able to talk to the business leaders around sustainability and showcasing to them the opportunities and inspire them and help them to visualize actually, okay, moving from our traditional business model to a sustainable business model is good for business, but it's also good for our customers and the planet as well. So if we go to the next slide, again, this is why I'm covering here, why I went for SUMUS in particular. It's an online course. You've heard from Veronica today. It's very much accessible. I personally did the online course. I know there's other options on campus there as well. The online portion suited me because I'm based in Ireland. I'm already working. I wasn't a recent graduate. So I wanted to do something that I wanted to study while I continued to work as well. And SUMUS having their online MBA totally catered to that. I also found that they had very high caliber of lecturers, and that was really important to me. And sustainability was very much embedded throughout the course content, which was key. I did not want to do a business course where it was all business with a module on sustainability. To me, that doesn't work, because from what I can see within a company, is within Dow anyway, sustainability is part of every function and every business and at every site in our company. So I did not want to go and study a course that was business and had sustainability as a sideline. To me, that wasn't reflective of where companies were going. And that was also one of the key reasons of why I decided to pursue the SUMUS course. Again, the studying schedule was very flexible, and the accreditation as well as the memberships was certainly an important factor for me. And they also collaborated with high caliber brands. They mentioned their P&G, but they also allowed you to study case studies and topics of studies that were very, very up to date. You weren't necessarily always reading very old, like 50, 60, 70-year-old, thought leadership pieces. You were doing, case studies on Uber. You were doing case studies on Lynx deodorant, and, really interesting, like case studies like Johnny Walker when it came to strategic marketing. And that really piqued my interest. And I was like, that's something I want to study. Again, they had a really good mix of theory and practice. So not only did you have to, do the study, the readings, the assignments, you also worked as a team. And I think that's a really important element. And the beauty was how diverse the candidates, the students are at SUMUS. And that was really key. You got different perspectives, people coming in from different backgrounds that brought really fresh ways of thinking. And I find that really, really beneficial when you worked as a team on a project. And finally, the approachability of the SUMUS staff. Yes, it's a large college. Yes, it has multiple sites and campuses. And yes, it's online. But their lecturers, right up to their dean, were very, very approachable, always willing to answer any questions that you had. And I found, we were able to build up a really good rapport with them. And they were always very willing to listen, which I think was important. The impact I've covered here, but I just want to highlight a number of areas. I'd like to say, again, the greater business acumen. I understood a lot more the mentality of our business leaders whenever I went to them to talk about sustainability and talk about reducing carbon footprint. I learned, okay, what impact will that have on our production levels? What impact will that have on marketing? How do we communicate that externally? SUMUS gave me all of that knowledge to go to business leaders with a greater and fuller picture of being able to articulate the business case for sustainability. And that was really, really key for me. It also helped me to get a greater understanding of the different elements of a business. The final module, the capstone module, which was a simulation for us, program, that was really beneficial to see how a business decision made on marketing, for example, could have an impact on production levels. And that's something that I wouldn't have got, unless you've been with a company for many, many decades and worked in different functions, you wouldn't necessarily get that sort of insight. And that's where I find SUMUS was really, really beneficial. Diversity, I mentioned here, positive learning experiences, covered that already. Increased my confidence in my own ability to put forward the business case for sustainability, expanded my horizons and enabled me to see the role of sustainability beyond just the sustainability function. I have to say I'm very proud to work for Dow. They take the same mentality, is sustainability is part of everybody's role. But it really gave me a better appreciation as well of the challenges and the opportunities that are faced by other companies and even functions within our own company as well. You know, if we're working on a project with you know, going to a customer and saying to a customer, okay, look at we could maybe look at, you know, a new innovative solution. Well, it's really important that we bring that back to our R&D and product development guys, and then we also do a life cycle analysis on that and capture, you know, how circular that project is as well. You know, all these things interlink, which I thought, you know, SUMA's course definitely gave me that better appreciation. And again, the teamwork, working with peers from different countries and backgrounds, it really did have a global reach and a huge impact on me as well. And finally, just kind of words of wisdom, if you like. Really, I would say it is a big time commitment, you know, but they do have that flexibility there. I did the 18th month MBA. It was very intense, but I made it work. And I think that's the thing. I mentioned here passion. If you have the passion for it, then you'll make it work. And you have to work hard, but it is so worth it. You will learn so much from these courses, and you will get more insight into the role of sustainability. I think it's a given at this stage that sustainability is really a part of everything that we do now. You were seeing legislation come out around sustainability. We're seeing regulations. The European Commission Green Deal alone in Europe is really kind of driving all businesses forward to a sustainability agenda. And that's where, you know, courses like this will really open up opportunities for all of you on the call today, because there's so many different elements to be involved in, and it's only a growing market as well. I would also say, you know, share your knowledge and be open-minded, be willing to reach out to your peers, reach out to your course lecturers as well. They're very, very committed. They're very engaged as well. They're very willing to help. They want to see you do well. And to me, that was, you know, that was really fresh. You know, I came from being at university with maybe 250 other students in a lecture theatre. Even though I was on an online course, I knew I could reach out to one of my lecturers with a question, and it was very personable, and they were very willing to make time for us as well. But what I'd say is really dedicate yourself to it, work hard, make the time for it. It is doable, definitely possible to do while working full time. You will have to make some sacrifices in terms of maybe a social life for a little while, but in the long term, it's very, very worthwhile. And I think I'm very thankful to the SUMA's team for giving me the opportunity to share my experience, and I'm very open to questions here as well.